Thanks for joining us. This is North Coast Perspectives. I'm James Faulk. You'd be forgiven this week if you woke up Wednesday morning wondering if we'd reached the end of days. Burnt orange skies that kept the day marooned in semi-darkness were the result of fires burning up and down the west coast, including one in southern Humboldt County that led to a number of evacuations and abandoned homes. Hundreds of people, their pets, as well as their most prized and portable possessions have been uprooted from their lives and cast out to make do on the generosity of others, including area nonprofits and government agencies. We spoke to folks about that very thing for our show tonight. More on that later. But the fires aren't the first tragedy to strike our community this year. And as of today, it's certainly not the most deadly. All the smoke, all the jagged flames coursing between the wooded hills of Humboldt County and beyond, they come on the heels of a pandemic, a complicating factor for all that has made this disaster all the more expensive, all the more difficult. And yet, in the midst of all this chaos, all the anxiety and pain, one can't help but take solace in the strength and solidarity of our local community. Organizations and individuals have sprung up from every corner of our county to lend a hand, either in person or by donation, and the result has been something to behold. This is the 19th anniversary of September 11, 2001. In recent years, it's become fashionable to say that America has lost its edge, that the tone among its people has become cheap and petty. We look back on the tragedy 19 years ago, shaking our heads at how unified we all seemed in the hours and days after the Twin Towers fell. On days like today, when Red Cross volunteers give hours upon hours of service to those in need, and firefighters of every stripe fight to save local homes and local lives, it's apparent that we are now the same as ever, a great nation whose greatest strength lies in the character of its people. Now, the interview. Today we are joined by Arcata Fire Chief Justin McDonald, who is here to talk with us about the state of his department's finances and why he believes Measure F needs to pass. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for agreeing to come onto the show. So let's start simply. What is Measure F and why do you think it's important?
Well, Measure F is a special tax that's being proposed by the Arcata Fire District. And the biggest thing is it will allow us to keep 3 stations staffed and have firefighters to run calls, much like you were talking about with your intro there. In a nutshell, it restores 8 of firefighter positions that have been left vacant due to budget cuts. And like I said before, it'll maintain operating a 3 fire station fire district for us.
Now, you guys have had some financial issues in recent years. In fact, you've tried to pass something like this before in the past, right? What's caused these financial shortages?
Well, it's both a blessing and a curse. As a fire district, I'm not affiliated with the city of Arcata. I'm not affiliated with the county. So my tax money, my revenues come and stays within my fire district. However, when times get tough and our revenues are declining and expenses go up, I don't have anybody else to get money from. So we have to go back to the public and ask for a tax to be passed to up our revenues. And that's what we tried the last couple times. And Measure R was the last one, and we just missed the 2/3 majority vote by 3%. So it was really close.
Yeah. What we talked a little bit about this before the show about how this is not a sales tax; it's a property-oriented tax. Can you say again for me what the impact might be on the average homeowner?
Sure. So the average homeowner that has a single-family residence would see a $98 annual increase in what they would pay to the fire district for taxes.
Okay.
And just to put in comparison, a vacant lot would see about a $25 annual increase for that tax, and a commercial business would see about a $486 increase annually.
Okay. Let's talk about the scope of what you guys cover. You're Arcata and McKinleyville, isn't that right?
Yeah, our scope is 62 square miles. We cover 5 communities: Arcata, McKinleyville, Manila, Bayside, and out into Jacoby Creek. So it's a pretty good chunk of the north end of Humboldt Bay.
And how big of a role do volunteers play in your personnel at this point?
You know, volunteers are still a pretty critical role in our organization. Over the years, it's changed from a predominantly volunteer firefighter staff organization to our volunteers have shifted to support, and we still do have a small cadre of volunteer firefighters. Problem is, it's getting harder and harder to find people that want to donate this much time to be proficient as firefighters, and the other side of it is understanding that it's still a dangerous job out there, and so people are less inclined to run into burning buildings for no compensation.
Yeah, absolutely. If Measure F were to pass, is this something that you'd have to come back and eventually renew, or is this a permanent?
Yeah, so we did a quick study back before the last assessment, and it was a community survey to find out what would make this tax measure more attractive. And the one thing that we found out is taxpayers like a sunset clause. They want to feel that we have held our end of the bargain before they just give us an open-ended check. So this tax does have a 10-year sunset clause. So we absolutely will be coming back to have the tax renewed. Excellent.
You mentioned that the people may be less inclined right now to run into burning buildings. That does bring to mind the fact that this is the 9/11 anniversary. Real quick, what comes to mind for you when you think of the anniversary of 9/11?
I still go back to, it was, it's hard to believe that it was 19 years ago. I was actually covering a fire engine with a couple of my coworkers, and we were assigned to a CAL FIRE station because CAL FIRE, like this time of year, was spread pretty thin out fighting fires. And I remember waking up and we were watching the news, and it was pretty surreal to be seeing it. Yeah, so I remember I was on duty at the Trinidad station. We were just dumbfounded.
Yeah. Real quick, we got sort of an endorsement for your Measure F campaign today when we were out at the fairgrounds to interview some folks. Let's play that tape real quick.
I hate taxes, but I'll tell you what, I love living in my house. I love hearing when the fire trucks roll, and what the state and the federal government, bless them, as the resources are thinner, the monies are being spread thinner, and to keep the level of services and the highly trained personnel and the staffing and equipment we have to do things like these tax, and that way it spreads it out. Everybody pays a little bit, and it doesn't so much hurt anybody on any economic scale because we all use the services. So I know Arcata Fire they do a great job. They do a great job in McKinleyville, Arcata, surrounding areas. They're one of the first ones Eureka calls. Yeah, I have to support it because I support Humboldt County. Do I have to like taxes? No, but I pay them because I love living here and I love the services that are provided, and as we all know, nothing's for free.
One of the things that I was wondering about is that, the Northwest and California in particular has been the subject of a lot of fires recently. I mean, obviously last year was the same. People contribute that to climate change and other issues. Do you think that as the Arcata Fire Department also is facing increasing demand because of those same pressures?
Well, I think so too, and it's the drought definitely has an impact. We're seeing more and more grass fires and brush fires that pick up here on the coast. Probably 3 or 4 of the last year's biggest vegetation fires that we've had has actually been out in Manila in the beach grass. So pretty wild for us to have that. And the other thing that it is as more people move out of the bigger cities and come into areas like Humboldt County, the population increases. And so when you get an increase in population, that's an increased level of response that we have to provide.
What's one thing you wish the public understood better about firefighters and the business of firefighting?
Well, 2 things actually. One is that, hang on, my pager's going off.
You're on call, we should say, so
yes.
You may have to bail out, and we understand.
Smoke check. Okay, there we go. I don't have to go. The fire engine has got that one. Okay. Something that I'd like folks to understand is, there's a misconception that firefighters just sit around the fire station and wait for a call to come in. And, you know, that's absolutely not true. Our firefighters are training. We have other duties. We're out doing prevention work. We're doing inspections. And the other thing is, because we have to be well-versed not only in fire, but rescue, like auto extrication, rope rescue, over the bank kind of stuff, and EMS calls, we've got to keep all those skills up. So our firefighters are constantly training. So that's kind of the one misconception. And I think the other one, and I'll thank Rex for that little bit of a lead in, Arcata Fire District covers more than just Arcata. And that's the other thing that we found out with past tax measures, is people saw the name Arcata and like, well, I live in McKinneyville. I'm not voting for anything in Arcata. So we're much more than just Arcata. McKinneyville, Manila, Bayside, and Jacoby Creek are all part of the Arcata Fire District. And that's the other big thing that I want to get out to folks. Excellent. That's pretty much all I had for you. Is there anything else you'd like to add? No, I appreciate your time, and you know, the only thing I would say more is, if you want to know more about Measure F, give us a call here at the Fire District, 825-2000. Ask for me, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you about what Measure F's all about if you have questions. Well, thank you for joining us, Chief McDonald. Thank you. Speaking of fires and the heroes who battled them, California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection crews are still busy fighting what's been called the Hopkins or August Complex fire. The fire forced the evacuation of Alder Point and several nearby communities. Fire Captain Specialist Jeremy Ward told KEET TV today that so far, the weather and humidity have been cooperative enough to help firefighters keep the blaze from crossing the Eel River.
Hi, this is Jeremy Ward with CAL FIRE, and a little update on the fire that we had been calling the Hopkins fire. Has now merged again with multiple other fires that is all under the umbrella of the August Complex. So what I can tell you on the portion of it that our resources have been working in the southeastern corner of Humboldt County into Trinity County, which that little piece is part of our Humboldt Del Norte unit. The fire has not gotten into Humboldt County. It is still on the east side of the main fork of the Eel River. And the north portion of that piece that's come into the state responsibility land is west of Kenton Palm, below the Peak Road, and down into, and I'm not going to get this name right, but it's Kikiwaka Creek. And crews they don't have that entire line all plugged in, but they're working on that today. But I believe it was Tuesday night when we were getting those east winds that really pushed that fire so far, and it burned, tens of thousands of acres overnight, and came all the way over into western Trinity County, approaching on Humboldt County. So, weather is absolutely a key factor. I believe Wednesday night, I heard him calling out relative humidities for the weather down into the single digits and into the teens for most of the night. The area where the fire is burning around Kenton Palm has been in a thermal belt where there's cooler, damper air down below, but it's relatively warm and dry at the elevations of the fire. Fortunately, the winds were very light that night, and so the fire wasn't getting pushed around. We had a real stable atmosphere. That's why we've had so much smoke.
Today, KEET producer David Thompson and I spent time at the Humboldt County Fairgrounds, where an evacuation center and aid station has been established to help displaced fire victims. Despite the bleak events that had led people to the site, we found that most people there were happy to chip in and do what they could to help, despite the increased risk from COVID-19. Even those folks who'd been evacuated found ways to stay positive, repeatedly thanking the people and organizations that had come out to help them find a safe place to rest and recover.
The fires are obviously horrible, and I'm surprised that they've progressed as far as they can, but at the same breath, I'm not surprised given the dryness of the fuel and the trees and the grasses and what have you out there in the woods. If you are in the pathway of the fire, in this case, just being ready and having a kit ready to go. One needs to prepare for things like this, and a stash of food would be helpful. They say 3 days worth, and I don't think 3 days would be enough, considering depending on what the emergency is. If it's a tsunami, an earthquake, or something like that, it's going to take a lot more because the infrastructure, the bridges and what have you are going to be down. Slides are going to occur on the freeways in between the bridges, and people aren't going to be able to get here from the outside world. And so we're having people come in just for this disaster, but California itself is spread pretty thin as far as Red Cross relief. With all the fires in Butte County and southern Oregon and Gasky area and what have you, the whole state is kind of hurting for at least Red Cross help.
Exhausted, scared. There's a lot of people. It's hard to get accurate, up-to-date information on your home because, firefighters are out there battling the fires, and they don't nobody has time to, update everyone right away. So people are just not knowing if what's left of their animals, of their property, of their homes. So there's just a lot of fear and panic. But there's a lot of love too. Everyone's been so grateful and appreciative of the community giving back. We're really the ones that are providing the activity packs for kids. We're providing snack packs, toiletry kits, whatever they need. A gentleman's here right now, needs a tenant sleeping bag, so we're going to get him set up to camp. We fill the holes. So we take kind of the community and the businesses' need and desire to kind of give back and help, and really help filter and direct them appropriately, so that there's not a mass amount of unused goods, and reaching as many people as possible.
I probably would have went back up to get more stuff, but the CHP is not letting us go back. So, and there's just a line of cars with folks that want to go back. One guy was crying on the side of the road. I think he has his dogs back there and they won't let him get them, and all kinds of stories like that. A lot of people left thinking they were going to come back to get their animals or valuables or what the heck ever, and that ain't going to happen. So, well, I wasn't calm 2 days ago, largely due to the good works of these folks. Actually, came in here all nerve-wracked, hungry, all wild-eyed, and they were like, well, calm down, take a minute, have a sandwich, have a cup. So that really helped bring me down, knowing that there was help. The second they let us go back, we're going back, And we don't want to be burdening society like this. We may seem spaced out and like we're just grabbing food and coffee, but let me tell you, we are very grateful to come into a situation where, here, you want a sandwich? You want a we didn't know what we were going to do, And this gives you at least a starting point, Everybody remember, life, your animals, your family is way more important than all that valuable stuff. We're losing TV. If it goes, we're losing, of course, our big screen TVs, our stereo system, But none of that can all be replaced little by little, So just get out of there, you guys, if they give you that frickin' mandatory evacuation, because it's serious this year.
Tom Porter, who's head of CAL FIRE, has promised a lot more resources. So they're going to be pulling resources off of the Oak Fire, which is not fully contained, but it is controlled. And then they're going to be obviously sending it over to the Slater Fire and to here. You'll notice on check-in, everybody is having their temperature checked. They're going through the checklist. If you've had any of the hightail signs, if there's hightail signs, there's an area to put you so we can do a further, so that the health professionals can do a further checking, so we don't become a hot spot of COVID to add to the dilemma of, hey, you're evacuated from your house also. So we don't want to add to the problems, but we also don't want to make sure that we inhibit anybody else from getting any relief. Call our Office of Emergency Services. If you have nothing else that you think you can do, just come to the Humboldt County Fairgrounds if that's convenient. If you haven't had to been evacuated from Red Wave, because they're just on a warning, the Mateo is set up. They have a setup in Willow Creek. But if you want to come somewhere, there's dry camping. There's actually pull-through camping. We have showers. We have bathrooms. We have food. It has not been that long since the Paradise campfire, and now we come right back into this, and my heart goes out to Butte. And if we get through this in the next few days, guys, I will be looking for donations to take over there to any way we can help, because it's devastating what's happening over there, Butte and the surrounding counties. And I just, even Tehama, big parts of Tehama were burnt. And I mean, we don't hear those people very often, but they're 100 miles away from us as a crow flies. 120 miles, over 36. Those are our neighbors. That's where we send our kids to school. They send their kids over here to school. We play them in football. It's so devastating when it hits Northern California like that. Pay It Forward, the Red Cross, all these people. I love Humboldt because of the way they step up and just the way Humboldt reacts to other people's misfortune, knowing it could be theirs and wanting to make sure that they do the right thing. And Humboldt always seems to do that.
Humboldt County Deputy Health Officer Josh Ennis this week spoke to the mission of public health during this kind of fire emergency when it comes to evacuating people with COVID-19.
A few general recommendations without getting into specifics. If you do have COVID, obviously you're going to be on isolation orders, and so that can complicate the evacuation process. And what we will attempt to do is have our public health nursing staff reach out to isolated individuals and touch base with them in advance of the need for evacuation. And so we would encourage individuals, if they know that they are on isolation orders and they have yet to hear from public health, reach out to us. We want to connect with you guys and make sure that there is a more solid, robust plan in place before movement needs to occur. If things are rushed, that connection hasn't occurred, we would think it'd be very important to identify yourself as being in this situation early, up front, to avoid scenarios that can potentially result in potential for transmission. I think the last thing anyone wants to do is malign anyone who's in this scenario. Clearly, if you've had to flee your home, you're in a very stressful situation. And so we just want to make sure that movement can be facilitated in the safest way possible and try and just minimize the uncertainty and unknown aspect of a normal evacuation.
This week, Eureka Mayor Susan Seaman thanked local first responders for their hard work and made a direct connection between their work today and the 19th anniversary of September 11th, 2001.
First, our thoughts are with the Humboldt Bay fire crews who are assisting with nearby fires. Engine 8117 is currently on assignment to protect the area of Kettenpalm from the Hopkins fire. Engine 8136 remains on assignment providing coverage for CAL FIRE in Wiat. And even though there's no indication that we're at risk from existing wildfires, our crews at home have had a very active week fighting several local fires, including one where a family lost their home. We thank all of them for their service and wish those who are away a safe and speedy return. It seems fitting that today is 9/11, a day that is remembered not only as a tragedy, but as a tribute to first responders who courageously face life-threatening situations for the safety of their community. I spent yesterday at the Red Cross, where their office was bustling with volunteers arranging for lodging for evacuees, planning meals, and making other plans to address the immediate needs for this disaster. When things feel out of control, playing a part to help mitigate a disaster and ease somebody's mind on the worst days of their life is life-affirming. It's also really important work. The reality is that this is not the last disaster we'll experience, and Red Cross can still use a crew of long-term reliable volunteers. Please consider being a Red Cross volunteer, not just for this emergency, but for the next one. Find more information at redcross.org.
Former College of the Redwoods creative writing professor Pat McCutcheon took part in the recent Behind the Mask anthology of local poets. Her poem, Gaia's Revenge, speaks to the outbreak of COVID and also to the fires that now threaten so many up and down the West Coast.
Hi, I'm Pat McCutcheon, and this is Gaia's Rage. I counted on you to be awestruck at the Fibonacci sequence, recognizing the same numbers in the petals of a purple flower and structure of a pine cone, or hearing a bird song repeating my Morse code, my cry for help, my SOS. But you were blind and deaf to how everything is connected. I was confident you'd have known trees so welcoming, it seems they've grown all this time just to feel the warmth of your hand on their trunks. Was so sure you'd be dazzled by full double rainbows streaking the sky, would hear poetry in the canopies of forests, the gentle roll of hills, stories in creeks chuckling water, a benediction in the kiss of sun. But I was so damn wrong. You assume it is all just for you alone. Run your fingers through the grass, grab it in your fist, feel my pulse echo in your blood, but then dump tons of filthy waste into the primordial waters of the oceans, so great whales wash up dead, their bodies crammed with plastic. Thousands of orange-beaked tufted puffins wash ashore, killed by starvation, fish they depend on, decimated in waters warmed by your demand for oil, gas, so greedy it has changed the climate. Your endless dams and deforestation wipe out the red-haired orangutan, your brother with 96% of your DNA. You have not respected the virgin beauty of the earth. I have sent floods, tornadoes, earthquakes, and wildfires, destroying homes, towns, your own kind. But still you do not understand the interconnectedness of all. Perhaps a plague will capture your attention, make you stop the fierce competitive haste that keeps you from hearing our common breath, shared heartbeat, a tiny worldwide virus for you, strong and deadly, so easily shared, passed from a friend's hug, the sneeze of a passerby, someone at work 2 weeks ago, maybe the wildfire in your body, a fever burning your filled lungs, or your wife's cough becoming desperate gasps for air from her, from your baby. You may turn for comfort to my natural world, as you have so often in the past, but the sky is filled with your toxic smog, rivers polluted, whole species vanished. Maybe now you will know you are as diseased as our precious planet. Watch me show you how to slow down. Stop. Listen now.
That's all the time we have for now. Thanks for joining us. According to figures collected by Public Health, Humboldt County currently has an active case count of 60. We've also just had our 5th COVID-related death, a septuagenarian who passed away last week at an out-of-the-area. Remember to wash your hands, wear a mask, keep away from one another, and do everything within your power to keep yourself and your family free from infection. Stay tuned, stay informed.